Hi guys, thank you so much for joining me again on this week's episode. Oh, and a special thank you to everybody who liked and subscribed to my channel, even though I know most of it right now is from my fans and family. Thank you guys for being so supportive, and it has given me a little bit of courage to kind of like continue with the channel, and I'm excited to kind of see where this is gonna take me. So yeah, you guys, I thought this week it would be really cool if I shared a little bit about myself, who I am, and the reason why I decided to become an entrepreneur and the journey that has led to that thus far. So yeah, let's get into it. I'm really excited about this video today. And then I went to St. Michael's Mission in Mondoro, where I did my secondary education. And then after that, I had plans to go to college. I had no desire to do A-level because of how everybody was like, oh, A-level is so difficult. I had no desire whatsoever to go to A-level. So my plan was to finish high school and then go to college and then further from there. Did I know that I was going to be an entrepreneur? Was that the initial journey? Well, no. Actually, I was going to do something in the line of secretarial studies. I remember going to Harare Polytechnic and I actually applied there, and I was going to do something along the lines of secretarial studies because that's something my dad wanted for me, and I wanted to make him proud by being that. But so long story short, I applied. I actually got in but didn't end up going there. Later, 2 years later, I ended up moving to South Africa, where I worked a little bit in the food and beverage industry before going. Yeah, that happens, you guys. Okay, we keep it real here. So yeah, clip-ons, you guys, they're so heavy, so I put on clip-ons. I love big gold embellished earrings. That's something you'll probably learn about me. I love big earrings, you guys. So I ended up, like I said, I ended up moving to SA. Maybe a year or 2 years later. I'm really not sure. Off the top of my head, I'm gonna say 2 years after high school, I moved to SA, which then I later enrolled at UNISA, where I took up business management. And yeah, my entrepreneurial journey basically from there was born. So what drove me into entrepreneurship? So as I said, I was raised by boss women in their own sense. Like, I was raised by very fierce women. So you know the story, the saying that I'm not sure if it's Oprah Winfrey or Maya Angelou, but I think I heard it from Oprah Winfrey, but it was actually said by Maya Angelou that I stand as one, but I come as 1,000. I kind of resonate with that saying only because my story wouldn't be my story if I wouldn't mention the women that were before me. So the story goes back 4 generations before me. My great grandmother, which we call Achizindi, she was an entrepreneur basically, because she was self-employed. She made clay pots for a living, and word has it in the family that she actually made a good living out of making these clay pots, and this is how she raised my grandmother and her family and all of that. Then having I had the privilege of meeting my great-great-grandma, 3rd generation before me. Unfortunately, I wouldn't say why am I saying unfortunate? She was paralyzed waist down, so she couldn't walk. But you guys, there was nothing about her that said disabled. She worked, she did everything, and in fact, before she passed away, she told me these words, that a woman's work is never done until she folds her hands in the grave. So it kind of gives you a sense of what kind of woman she was. I remember as a little girl, she would get tired of using the crutches, and she would crawl around the yard on her hands and feet with a hoe and some seeds. And then she had this little hoe for me, and I would help in the yard, and then we would be farming in our yard and planting pumpkin seeds and vegetable seeds and bean seeds. She loved these white beans. I'm not sure what they call. You know what? I haven't seen those beans ever since I was a little girl. If you know these beans that I'm talking about, they're like big beans, like maybe like this size, and they are white, and they have this little red thing on the top. I'm not sure what they're called. Maybe they are butter beans or something. I tried to Google them one time, but I couldn't find out the name of those beans. So I would help her plant those seeds. She was a busybody. She was always doing something. Her disability was not a disability. It did not hold her back in any way, and she was constantly busy doing something and just moving. And then if it wasn't that, she was probably sitting somewhere with her crocheting needle and thread, making doilies and stuff like that. Then we come to her daughter, who's then my grandmother, my dad's mother, my namesake, Florence. She was a nurse by Parenyatwa Hospital for like 35 years, you guys. And in those 35 years, she would work her normal shift, and then she would come back home, and then she would knit jerseys and make doilies, which I'm sure is a story of many Zimbabwean women, and I'm sure many people are gonna relate to this story. So over when she was at home, she was busy knitting. It's either she was knitting jerseys, scarves, gloves, booties, making doilies, or whatever it is that she was making, or she was sewing something, whatever. And then when it came to her leave days, then she would come to South Africa, which she did that for like my entire childhood. I remember my grandmother coming to South Africa back and forth to sell those things that she would make. And then she made a killing. My grandmother had 3 children in total. My aunt and my dad's brother, and my dad being the last born. And her dream was to buy 3 properties to leave for her 3 children and build all those 3 properties, which in actual fact she did. She managed to buy 3 properties, but unfortunately she only managed to build the 2 and was unable to build the last property. But you know, she managed to do that, and that was inspiring. And I remember as a little girl, after her trip, when she would come home, we would sit around the carpet, and in the living room, she would come home very late, like 3, 4 or 2 a.m. at night, and then would sit there, and then she would tell us about her journey, her adventures, traveling to all these places in the world where she would be selling all these things that she made. So that kind of like you know, it's something that I grew up with. I grew up knowing that women work, you know, you need more than just a job to sustain yourself. It's something that a woman had to do. So, and then my mom as well did the same thing, and her mom as well did the same thing. They made doilies and sold doilies. My mom, unfortunately, she didn't do the doilies thing. She went by, when it was her era, she would come into SA, and then she would buy stuff like cell phones. You know, when cell phones were starting to be introduced into society, and cell phones were trending, my mom would come to SA. She would buy stuff like cell phones, jewelry, watches, you know, fancy stuff for the women around her, and then she would sell that as well. So for me, I grew up with female boss entrepreneurs. Like my parents and everyone around me was always just trying to find a way to supplement their income. So everybody was always onto some sort of business. Everybody was always, you know, buying and selling that. If it wasn't this, it was that. It was always something going on in our household. Like my grandma did this thing of working her day job as a nurse and selling. She did it for over 40 years, you guys, for over 50 years. You know, she did it for a long time, because now I remember, she did it before my dad was born, and my dad is like 60. He's 60 something years old. I don't want to reveal his age because he looks good for his age, you guys. So she did it for such a long time, and she just recently passed away March last year. So yeah, I really grew up with inspiring women who did this. And it wasn't only my grandmother, it was the women in my life. It was my neighbor, it was everybody. Even her sister did the same thing, and her sister's daughters did the same thing. So this is something that has been in my family for a long time, and it's unfortunate that I was thinking about this the other day, that like there are so many entrepreneurial women in my life, but none of them actually had, you know, like a real business. They were more like self-employed people who sustained themselves and their families. And I wanted more than just to self-sustain. I wanted more than just you get it. I just wanted more. So yeah, and then fast forward back to my story after moving to SA. I started working in the food industry. Did that for a little bit before getting a job in the engineering sector, where then I met this boss lady. Her name was Cindy, and she was my boss, and I had the privilege of watching this woman just hold her own and be like this. You guys, it was the most powerful thing I've ever seen. Like, this woman was running this company, and she was doing her thing, and she was successful, and I just felt so inspired. When I looked at her, I was like, you know what, that's what I want to become. That's who I want to become. So then I remember exactly when it was in 2010. Was it August or September? And I remember just watching her and just being inspired, like, this is who I want to become. Like, I love what she does and how she carries herself and all of that, and I was so inspired into becoming, if not that, something close to that. It was just her energy that was just kind of like driving me into her. So yeah, later that year, I was talking to her and I was telling her about all these things, and she was very encouraging. She was like, no, if this is something that you really want to do, if you want to have your own business, that's a great idea, or whatever. But at that time, I was trying to establish myself in that company, so I decided because I wanted to advance myself in the company, because at this time I was kind of like being career oriented. So then I was busy studying business management at UNISA, which is something that Cindy encouraged me to do, and she actually helped me pay for part of that education as well. So I did that for a while, and then before actually I was thinking, okay, this is great and everything, but it would be great if I could actually have my own business. So in 2011, I dabbled into starting my own business. I was young at the time, and I had really no business sense or whatever, and I tried to do that. It didn't work out so well, so I let it go. And then I was promoted in the company. My career was going great. Now I'm in the human resources department, and that's going good. And I thought, you know what, I think this is going good for me. Let me put this thing on the side and work on that a little. So I pushed that for a while, and in the back of my head, I had that thing that, I'm doing this, but it wasn't really me. It wasn't really what I wanted for myself. But my dad was proud, my mom was proud, and everybody was just so happy for me and how good I was doing and all of that. And I was pushing that because of the pressure that, like, I think I'm gonna do another episode about that, where I'm gonna just talk about those pressures, because I think it's very important and nobody really talks about that. So because of the pressure that I had, I was doing so great. I was constantly, every other year, I was getting a promotion, advancing, in my career or whatever. At first, which was a job, and now it was an actual career, and I was doing so well. And I didn't want to jinx it by starting something else when I have something like this that's going. So I had this brilliant idea. You know what? I'm gonna start a side hustle that I'm gonna do while I have this job. And then I started another company, but this time I had a partner, and we dabbled into this, and everything was set and everything was ready, and we were ready to go. And then she passes away. And then that was very disappointing and very hurtful at the same time, because I didn't see myself doing that with anybody else. So I went on another couple of years, and then something came up again, and this time I was then my then friend, who is now my husband, we were working on a project, a company that we were working on, and he was part of it. And we came together, him and some other friends as well, and we were trying to start this thing together. That also, again, it didn't really come to pass, I guess. So I had a few attempts of trying to start a business, and sometimes it never really amounted into something. And then I started I started selling clothing online. I had an online store, but not like an actual online store. I sold stuff through Facebook. I was buying and selling clothes, which was doing really well for a while as a side hustle. But again, it wasn't really my passion, so it really didn't go anywhere. But I really did make good money. I was selling jewelry items, clothing, shoes, you name it, anything that you think a woman would like. I was selling it. I made money. But again, the fashion industry wasn't really my thing, because personally I'm not really like a stylish person, and I think you need to have a certain level of style if you're gonna sell fashion items and stuff like that. I ended up letting that go, and then finally I found something. By accident, actually, I found something I believe. So I ended up again, I never quit my job. I moved to another job when the company closed down, which I absolutely hated. I absolutely hated that place. I was miserable. I just hated being there. I hated everything about it. And I moved from that company again. I went to another company. So ever since the company that I was working for closed down and we moved on to other businesses or whatever, I never quite find I kept jumping from company to company to company to company, hoping that I would find that company that I was comfortable with again. But that never happened. So that for me was the pull that I needed to be like, hey, if you can't find the ideal job that you want, the ideal company that you want, you can actually build your own company. By this time, my husband and I are married. He has a job. I have a job. We have a kid. And I'm trying to make this, now I'm actually thinking about starting something. So there I am on the internet. I research. What can I do? What can I do? I had trouble finding something that I was interested in, and at the same time I had financial issues, because then when I spoke to my husband, hey, maybe we should revisit that idea of having a business again, he was like, no, I don't think now is the good time. We've got so many responsibilities. We don't have the money to invest in a business right now. Maybe if we can save up some money, we can revisit the idea and then start something big. But I wasn't satisfied with that answer, so I didn't stop looking, you guys. I went on the internet and I was there day and night. I was sleeping. After I come back from work, I was sleeping 2 a.m., 3 a.m. on the internet looking for, I don't know exactly what I was searching for, but I was just there kind of like just because I was miserable at my job and I had nothing else better to do. So anyway, and then I find this woman, I forgot what her name was, but she started a hair care brand with $100. She waited tables, made $100, which she bought stuff that she invested into making, a small stock, whatever you want to call it, which she then made profit, reinvested. You guys, she did that until she built a multi-million-dollar company, and I was like, that is so me. I want to do that. Whatever she did, I want to do that. I'm gonna make sure I'm really forgetting her name right now for some reason, but I'm gonna include her name and the link in the description box, and you guys can check her out. And I was inspired. I was like, that is what I want. That I'm gonna do exactly that. So I'm looking, and then I stumble upon a cleaning business, and I'm looking, and I'm like, okay, this is interesting. I can clean. I can do that. And then immediately I'm obsessed with OneNote, Microsoft OneNote. I open OneNote and I start taking notes, and I'm thinking, okay, if I really wanted to open a cleaning business, I could clean. I could be the lady. I have a broom in my house. I have a mop. I have this and I have that. I've got a vacuum cleaner. I've got this. I've got that. These are things that I already had in my house, and I was like, okay, I could do this. So I quickly take notes, and I'm busy writing on my computer, and I'm taking notes, and I'm going back and forth thinking about this over a week or so, and then I bring the idea to my husband, and I'm like, babe, look here, I've got this idea. I know it's a long shot, but hear me out. And then I tell him, like, this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking with the small stuff that we have in our house, without really investing much money, we could start a cleaning company. And he didn't have the vision at the time. He was like, no, we need money, we need this. I'm like, no, I saw this woman who started a company with $100. If she can do it, I can do it. And he's like, okay, fine. If you think you can do this thing without, taking away from our savings or the current income that we have, fine, go ahead. And then, but he had no faith that I could do this. So I went back to my computer and I researched how to create a website, and I did that. I created a website. I went and I researched how to get my company on Google. I did that. I did my Facebook. I did Instagram. I went on all of these social media sites, and I was creating. Then I was looking for apps to create posters and all of this, and I did that. And now I had everything in place. Mind you, not much money involved. The website I had was a free site. Facebook again is free. Instagram and all of that. And I was posting these flyers in groups and on Facebook, and I was posting on Instagram. Everywhere where I could post, I was posting. In fact, that's all I did. At work, on break, I was posting. Wherever I was, if I was sitting in a taxi, if I was at a restaurant, if I was at home, I was just on social media posting. And then finally, this one day, my phone rings. I get a call. It was from this lovely lady who was a family. I wonder if ever she gets to watch this video. I wonder, her name was Valerie Mayer, and she and her family were moving to New Zealand. And she calls me and she's like, hi, I'm moving out of my house. I need somebody to come and clean. And I was over the moon. I was like, yes, this was a win. It was only 750 Rand, but for me, you guys, this was like a win. Like, okay, fine. If I can get this one client, then I can get more. And I was excited. I went in, did the job and everything. And after that, my husband was like confused. Like, okay, I think I see your vision now. I think if you have the vision with your will, I think we can do this. And since that day, we just went all in. Barely invested any money. And up until today, we are still growing our business. So it was an interesting journey, you guys. I don't want to make this video too long because I still have so much to share, but I felt like that wasn't, that's just the tip of the iceberg of all the things that I have to share. And my journey won't be my journey without mentioning the work ethic of the women and the people in my life that played a pivotal role into building this person that I am today. and I just had to share that. But you guys, I will share some more on this story in the next video. I'll make a part 2 so that this isn't too long. But thank you guys for I don't know how long this is, but thank you guys for being with me now. I will see you guys in the next episode, and I will continue the story. And for today,